Hi everyone, how are you doing? I am in Cambridge today. It's a lovely sunny weather outside. And I want to talk to you about a small company called Helium, which is actually a Wi-Fi network, but it is not run by any uh, telecom operator. It's actually owned by everyone and is powered by cryptocurrency. So if I'm on Helium and I'm not using my Wi-Fi and I have spare bandwidth, even if I'm using it, I can actually lend it out to someone else who with a special device can actually access my Helium network, or I can access theirs, and we can pay each other with some kind of Helium tokens. And this is actually a decentralized Wi-Fi network and is actually called the People's Network. There's a small company called Arcade City, an experiment I think in Austin, in Texas, started by an ex-Uber driver who also happened to be a software engineer, got sick of Uber's policies towards drivers and wanted to eliminate this big middleman, which is Uber. And so started this Arcade City on a blockchain where drivers and riders could directly talk to each other and pay each other. And a very small percentage which actually kind of get taken by Arcade City to manage this entire network, etc. Similarly, another company called Zooz, if I hope I'm pronouncing it right, which is an Israeli company, does the same with a small twist. It's actually in carpooling. Again, carpooling, peer-to-peer between people who own the cars, again on a blockchain decentralized network. And there are a few such companies like that. And actually, these are the companies which have a few things in common. They are decentralized. They are actually owned by the community, not by one person. They sit on the blockchain and they're powered by cryptocurrency. These companies are actually what are Web3 companies. Now, we have been hearing a lot about Web3. What is Web3? So if you kind of go back, Web1 in the 1990s was about just reading. So the companies of Web1 were Yahoo or MSN or AOL, and the business model was advertising. Then somewhere around the mid 2000s, companies like Facebook and Google and Twitter and YouTube came in, where the business models changed, where it was far more about how you and your data could be sold for money. And there they moved from read to read and write, since you could also do stuff on it, not just consume stuff on it. Web3, which is, well, a new possible revolution, which is kind of being talked about for the last 2 or 3 years now. It goes one beyond. If Web 1 was read and Web 2 was read and write, Web 3 is about read, write, and own. Remember, owned by the community, the way we talked about the taxi company and the Wi-Fi company. So look, Web 3 has become a buzzword. It has ascended the hype curve rapidly. About $27 billion of venture capital actually flowed into Web3 last year. Facebook rechristened itself into Meta, a new Web3 kind of company. Jack Dorsey, after he left Twitter, he renamed his company from Square to Block, the Block, well, obviously standing for blockchain. And so, it's kind of all over. But what is Web3? Some people think Web3 is about NFTs, something it's about cryptocurrency, something it's about the blockchain, something it's really what the metaverse is all about. But what is Web3? Now, Web3 really has 4 characteristics, besides the different business model, as well as the read, write, and own thing that I spoke about. It is actually open. In the sense that, so number one, it's open in the sense that it's built by, on open source by a community of developers, and you can pretty much see the code and how Web3 has been coded. Number 2, it is trustless. So when I say trustless, I don't mean you can't trust it, but what it actually means is that you do not need a central, large, trusted intermediary for trust, because of the whole blockchain community peer-to-peer system. You trust everyone. There's no single trusted authority. Number 3, it is permissionless. So you don't need Facebook or Google's permission to do something. It's the community's permission. Number 4, it is ubiquitous. It's all over. It's not kind of linked to where the big guys decide or where the central Wi-Fi guy decides where the Wi-Fi should be put. It's all over, and actually it will extend to machines also. So it's not only humans, it's things, it's machines, etc. And 5 and final, it is owned. And that's the most important part. And as you saw in the examples that I gave you, it's owned by through crypto tokens, through different mechanisms where you actually own a little piece of it as a part of the community which owns all of it. And so though that 5, really the 5 things, it being open, it being trustless, it being permissionless, it being ubiquitous, and it being owned, are the 5 characteristics of Web3. So what I think is that Web3 goes much beyond its manifestations like crypto or blockchain or metaverse or NFTs. Web3 actually is a new business model. Much like Web1 had a business model and Web2 had now a very controversial business model, Web3 is actually a peer-to-peer business model. And every industry will have to start thinking of what is its new business model in the Web3 world. Pretty much like every company had to start thinking of its business model in the Web2 world. So that's my perhaps too simple definition of Web3. I would love to know what you guys think. Thank you very much and look forward to see you soon.